We are live. My name is Zane Stevens. I am the founder of Protea Financial. End of day two of Unified Wine and Grape Symposium. What a day. Not gonna lie to you, I am tired. I left my hotel room at 8, got back at 5, and other than, being seated to have some lunch and listen to a couple of presentations, I've generally been on my feet interacting with people all day. Networking is a skill, especially for long events. And if you haven't done it in a while, I promise you it's exhausting. My feet are sore, my legs are tired, my brain is foggy. Um, but I'm here. I want to let you guys know how my day was. Um, you know, other than sort of just interacting with a ton of people, uh, the keys of my day were the state of the industry first thing this morning. And then I went to a great lunch hosted by uh, Robo Agri Finance, which they had a fantastic speaker session, which we'll talk about. And then I spent a ton of time just walking the exhibition floor, uh, having a look at everything that's going around, bumping into people and making sure I have as many conversations, make sure I'm being seen, right? Um, at the end of the day, we are sponsors of the event. If you have to show you guys this is very cool. Sponsor. And try to see as many people, bump into as many people as possible, and then interact with as many people as I could along the way as well. So let's start in the beginning. This morning, I went to the state of the industry. Um, the presentation was pretty much as gloomy as the weather. Wet and cold outside. The presentation put a damper on the wine industry. I'm going to share some stuff on LinkedIn, and I shared some stuff on Twitter all day as I went through the session. But it was a tough session to sit through. There wasn't a ton of positivity. I spoke to somebody about it like last year. It was a little bit more upbeat, even after the SVB report came out and showing it wasn't great. They took a couple of jabs at SVB for being overly negative. This year they mentioned it once and moved on. So that means they're more in agreement. The end of the session was sort of more focused on supply and specifically looking at growers and what they're doing. And for me, that was very, very fascinating. That you constantly get the story that we're chronically oversupplied because we have too much acreage in the ground. And a lot of the time, I sort of hear that I don't quite understand it. But they broke it down in a very interesting way. They obviously looked at it by varietal, but then they also looked at it price points. And they specifically looked in, the grapes being used for wine that's $6 to $11, $11 to $25, and $25 and above. And the $25 or above, that's fine. They're in a good shape. Maybe some things need to come out, but not too many concerns over there, especially if some of the lower end wine can be sorted out, it'll probably balance itself out. But in the 6 to 11 and the 11 to 25, especially on that low end, way too much vines in the ground. We're talking massive amounts of acreage that should be able to be pulled out to get the industry to where they should be from a supply standpoint to match the consumer demand and specifically match the demand of what people are looking for. So there's two issues. One, there's too many vines in the ground. The second one is there's a lot of vines in the ground of varietals that people are losing interest in, like Zinfandel. That's one that sort of stuck out that's really, really struggling. And the grape it's great, it makes wonderful wine. There's good opportunity people who are doing a good job to do it, but the consumer taste is just not there for the product. So you have to be really careful if you're a Zinfandel producer. Unless you're doing a good job, you're going to probably be struggling. They did look at consumer behavior, and there was a lot of talk about just the lower demand and some of the big issues that the industry is facing. And one of the ones that they've highlighted and came up numerous times was the big effort towards no alcohol, no level alcohol is safe. Which, I get it, but at the same time, it's not really based in fact. I mean, there's some studies that say any alcohol is bad alcohol, but there's others where it just shows. We had this in the 90s where people in Mediterranean climes, France and stuff, eat very fatty food, drink wine as part of their normal day, and they live longer than most other people in the world. So what is the truth? But it's difficult because it's getting shoved down people's throats, especially with the advent of social media and how The younger consumers, specifically those under 30 that are consistently on their phone, if they can get pushed through the message that alcohol is bad, they might make some different decisions, especially in a situation where uh, low alcohol or no alcohol alternatives are available and are socially acceptable. There's no pressure that, it's say even my age, right? 39 years old. If I go to a party when I was younger in the 20s and I wasn't drinking, that'd be made a big deal of. Even now, I didn't drink at the event the last couple of days, and people are like, "Oh, you're not drinking? Don't want to drink?" It's just there's always that consistent pressure around it, and the younger age group just don't have that. That's just not a thing anymore. And then a different part of it is there are so much competition from other alcoholic beverages. I mean, they were noting that spirits has probably been the big winner so far, but the RPGs, ready, the ready to drink stuff, you know, the quick, easy grab of the shelf, take to the beach, drink type alcohol is making a big surge, and that's you know there's a lot of options there and it keeps growing. So it does obviously bring up the idea that, wineries do need to consider alternative packaging again. Um, it is, we're sometimes just stuck in the idea that it has to be in a bottle, it has to weigh a certain amount, and needs to look at it. It's probably not the way it is anymore. People need to go move towards a situation, understand who their consumer is, and go to where they are right now. The other difficulty that the U.S. economy, wine economy, is sort of struggling with is that traditionally, you know, their consumer looks like me, white male, especially on the older side. But those people are, getting older. They have less income. A lot of them are passing on, and you have to replace them. And when you look at the younger demographic, it's less white, it's much more diverse, and they have different feelings towards wine. And you have to figure out how do you cater to them. One of the things they brought up is like, hey, sometimes you have to have flavor forward wines. You'll have to come up with ways to develop wine forward cocktails. The industry at whole is going to have to tackle the situation together and figure what it is. So you've got a declining demand and change in preferences, as well as a chronic oversupply equals a very tricky situation. And that is even taking into account the increase in cost and debt, which that can cause a lot of issues as well as, the economy keeps putting inflationary pressure on people. So costs are up, cost of debt is up, people are drinking less, and there's too much grapes in the ground. Just tough. But I'll share all the thoughts that I had. I'll probably put up an overall summary in the next 15 minutes. And then I've got some specific summaries that I'll probably share over the next few days as well. I would then head off to the Citizen Hotel, just about, quarter of a mile up the road from the convention center. Went up to the seventh floor, had a wonderful lunch with American Air Credit, got to see a bunch of M&A guys, met up with some of my friends from Moss Adams, had a lot of very good conversations, um, not just about the wine industry, not just about the economy, but you even fit in a little bit of a 49ers talk in preparation for this weekend's big NFC championship game. So just a lot of fun, a good session. And their team that hosts their podcast sort of did a quick discussion focusing on three economic factors and then discussing how it affects the consumer. Very, very interesting. They did point out inflation, the pressures there. They did, talk about the credit card debt, which, a lot of the time people are like, why do people have less money to spend? Well, they got to pay debt back, and just sort of trying to figure out what is this consumer going to do, and will we hit a recession some point of this year? A lot of people are predicting a mild recession, because people need to pay this debt back at some point. So consumer spending it has to go somewhere else. At some point, you have to pay the money back that you've been using. Very intriguing on the economic side. It's a different outlook. It's a much more macroeconomic look at the situation and sort of trying to bring it into the way it is affecting the wineries in whole. A couple of people talking about the cost of labor increasing. I get it. It's not great. We all have the pressure of it, but at the same time, we need to pay people enough for them to survive. So there was one grouch in there that effectively said, he doesn't want to pay people that much. I don't know. I mean, from my conversations, you're pretty successful at your job. But if that's the way you're going to treat your people, I think it's going to get harder and harder And when we talk about this consumer, they really care about who you are as a person. And honestly, if they find out or figure out that you don't really want to treat people in a fair way, that could come back to bite you. So I really think it's very important that when people understand they put consumer brand out there nowadays, it's not just about is it a great product, is it a great product, and is this company good people, becomes really, really important. People care about your message and your values more than ever, and that does affect where they're spending their money. So, just a warning to all of you out there that sort of being Scrooge, be careful. The consumer doesn't like that too much. But great, 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 great session. Delicious lunch, great conversation, wonderful presentation. Uh, it was a little crazy. The wind was blowing like madness up there, and they sort of got these like draped roof, and it was just fluttering around. Sort of end of days type scenario, but just a great session. So thank you to Roro, Every Finance, for inviting me through that one. I really had a good time. And then I went to the trade floor, and I just bumped into as many people as I could. Eric from Wine Business Monthly, that was fantastic conversation I had with him. My friends over at Innovant, that was really good. Moss Adams, Perkins CPA, and then just random interactions along the floor, including Sonoma State University, who've got a great program. I know they gave me where it is, not that one. They gave me a piece of paper to look at some of their courses. Just a fun situation just to talk to them, sort of see what they've got going on. Great institute, really support the wine industry. And if you're interested in getting into the wine space, accounting, business, their programs are fantastic, and you should check them out, Sonoma State University. And then I kept my evening off by going to F&M Bank's mixer, which was very, very nice. Feel very privileged to be invited to it. Pretty small event. Good to just bump into people. And then I headed back over here because honestly, I needed to break from people. I reached my limit. It was a lot today, and not really the people I was talking to. The people I spoke to is great. It's that general population, that people you don't know, people sort of aren't really aware of their surrounding, people just going on their own way and just dodging people, trying to find people I'm looking for. I'm sure people had to dodge me as well. So there's probably people like that guy. Can't believe he was just walking like that. But really good day. Unified's been good. I'm gonna catch up on some work, probably get some sleep, and I'll head home tomorrow. I might do one more catch up after just sort of sleeping on some of the thoughts, sharing some of my maybe one last little recap on Unified 2024. Again, Protea Financial are so thankful to be sponsors of this event. It's always a great privilege to see your name up there. 12,000 people attended the event, so it's a big one. It's a big one. I hope everybody attended had a great time. I know I did. Until 2025, have a good time. Be kind. Good night.